Hey there, my name is Shanna. I am Travel with Shanna, and I am here to share with you 5 things to do right away if you test positive for COVID in a foreign country. Before we get to that, just quick. If you like what you see here, please hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when I post new videos. I try to post really useful stuff about travel, um, tips, and destination information, and all sorts of things that are going to help make your travel bucket list a reality. And do me a favor, you can find me on Facebook at Travel with Shanna. Go ahead and give me a like over there. So, without further ado, 5 things to do right away if you test positive for COVID in another country. Now, I know that testing positive for COVID in another country can feel shocking. It can trigger feelings of fear, of the unknown, and of panic. And I know this from experience because I am just finishing up my quarantine after testing positive for COVID in Amsterdam. I know the fear that this can cause because I recently just experienced it. I remember seeing the positive test result. I kind of knew I was feeling icky, but somehow seeing it kind of hit me right in the gut, and my brain started running away um, with thoughts like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go to a doctor here? What kind of documents am I going to need to fly home? Where am I going to quarantine? And how am I going to do that when I don't know anybody here? All of those things started swirling through my head. And this is the very first thing, the very first step that you need to do if you are experiencing this is to take a deep breath. It's all going to be okay. You're not going to be the first one, you're not going to be the last. So just take a deep breath, relax, and focus on doing things one step at a time. All right? So here is what to think about next. First of all, check into your travel insurance coverage. You did get travel insurance, right? I hope so. Find out what it covers, what limitations your plan has, and what documents you will need to file a claim. And if you are still planning a trip and you're just trying to figure out what would happen if you get COVID testing to come home to the U.S., for example, make sure you get travel insurance. Travel insurance um, is paying for the bulk of my stay here because it's a trip interruption. It doesn't cover COVID specifically, but it covers trip interruption due to illness. So this is something to think about, right? That's number one. Um, Make sure that you are set up in a place where you can quarantine. When I tested positive, I was in an airport hotel that absolutely did not have the facilities to enable me to quarantine for a week. There were limited restaurant facilities, limited food options. I had no kitchen or place to cook, so it became very quickly apparent to me that I needed to get to a place that was a little more home-like to be able to successfully quarantine because that's the purpose. They want you to be able to stay in your space and not interact with other people. And in order to do that, you're going to need a place that's set up so you don't have to be going out to find food, to get food, all of these things. So of course, follow all of the rules and regulations for the place that you are visiting, but also think about doing everything that you can to get yourself to a suitable place where you can get some groceries and be okay not going out for 7 to 10 days. Make a shopping list, get enough fresh food to last for a number of days. This will give you time to figure out the system and how to get more food delivered, figure out different places have different methods for grocery delivery. And so you're going to need a few days to kind of figure this out, especially if you are feeling ill and you're feeling sick. You want to be able to hunker down. Number two thing that you should think about if you test positive for COVID in another country is making sure that you are stocked up on vitamins. I always advocate for traveling with a small supply of vitamins because I think you should be taking them throughout your trip to make sure that you stay on your regular schedule and support your immune system. But if you have tested positive for COVID, you might want to order a few more to give your body a jump start on fighting this. I'm vaccinated and I still got sicker than I expected to, even though I had been taking vitamins. So I'm going to put a link in the description to a protocol that you can follow all or part of, and you can order some vitamins. Now, the easiest thing for me was to see if Amazon delivered to my area, which it did here in the Netherlands. And if this is not the case, you might want to check with your hotel front desk or a local pharmacy about how you might make this happen. In a lot of countries outside of the US, vitamins all come through a pharmacy. So they may not be something that you can just grab at the grocery store like we can at home. All right. What are we on? 3. We are on number 3. Start figuring out what documents you will need to get home and if there are any additional tests needed to confirm your diagnosis. After a positive COVID test, you are going to continue to test positive for COVID for a while. So you will need to figure out what documents you will need to continue your journey because a negative test result will no longer be possible. For example, here in Amsterdam, I needed to get an official test from the Dutch Health Authority because the travel antigen test, the quick test that I had taken, wasn't enough. So figure out what documents we'll need and what additional steps you might need to take, right? Now, number 5, and this might have been the most important thing that I learned to think about, is don't assume that anyone is going to enforce your quarantine, but don't assume that they won't, right? So it depends on where you are. And for me, this was the biggest fear, not knowing the system that was in place where I was. I was unsure about a number of things. Is the local health authority going to notify the hotel that I'm staying at as soon as I test positive? Will there be some sort of tracking done? This may be the case in some Asian countries once you test positive. As I said, don't break any local rules or regulations, but you also need to think about trying to get yourself set up to where you need to be to quarantine appropriately, right? Um, so you don't want to break any local rules, but you have to realize that you don't live there. You are also not set up to deal with the situation as a foreigner. You're already at a disadvantage. Um, and the other thing is, don't unfortunately assume that anyone is going to help you figure all this out. The amount of help available may vary by location, but in many places, they're just struggling to keep their own people safe and to deal with this ongoing pandemic. You will likely be the one in charge of making sure you're set up and you're following all the local regulations for quarantine to the best of your ability. So, I hope that was helpful for you. If you have just tested positive with COVID, I hope you have a quick recovery. I hope that you are not ill, and I hope that you will be able to continue with your return journey soon. I am super excited. I have finished my quarantine. I just got my letter stating that I am cleared to travel, so I get to go home. So I hope that that comes quickly for you as well. And so, thank you for listening. Please post any questions in the comments or pop onto my Facebook page. Feel free to message me if you need help figuring out what to do or anything like that. I'm happy to help, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.